Yeah, so the name SingleThread really came from when we were first putting together this project. We're a restaurant, we're an inn, we're a small winery actually too as well, and also we're a farm, and that's really what's driving everything like that. So as we were going out and explaining to everyone what we were going to do, people were saying, wow, that's really complicated, all these different things you're going to do, all of these at the same time and all together. And we kept saying, yeah, well, there's this one single thread that's really connects everything together between our agriculture and the hospitality. So eventually we just said, well, that's what we want to call it. The idea of transferring energy from one living thing to another has always been a very simple mantra for me. And I think oftentimes as chefs we get kind of too caught up in our dishes and our cuisine and our creativity and all these kinds of things. And you have to understand at the end of the day, when you're a cook and what you do is you make food and you serve it to people, you are just transferring energy from one living thing to another. And it really, really sort of simplifies and I think really humbles you as well as a cook. Coming up as a cook, I cooked in California at a variety of different restaurants that were kind of California cuisine as well as Japanese cuisine. And then I had the amazing fortune to go out to Japan and cook there for many years in different ways and different types of cuisines. I spent 2 years writing a book there, but I also cooked in Europe and in England on a very sort of modernist cuisine, sort of really modern and contemporary. And really here I bring all of those things together. We're really guided more by the Japanese philosophy and the principles on a lot of things, not only just cooking, but aesthetics, a lot to do with hospitality as well. We really take a lot of these really incredible techniques and philosophies and applications of nature into the restaurant and dining experience, and we just make them be all about our locality and where we are. What's really our guiding light here is that we're always being driven by what is happening today. At SingleThread, we are telling the story of today. This is what's happening in our farm. This is what's in season. This is what's coming from something that we're making or the makers that around us. So we're focusing more on locality, and that's really has served us very well, not only in our cuisine and our philosophy and the experience that we want to create for the guests, but also as a business as well. And I think we're seeing more success for restaurants who are focusing on that, focusing on the locality, being in control of more things, and really being able to carve their own path and not being so reliant on some of the systems that can be prone to have a lot of challenges and changes that are coming at you all the time, whether it's cost or supply or availability or quality. But also we're facing environmental challenges because we do farm. We're in an area that is prone to having fires. We're seeing the effects of climate change every day out in the fields. And we too are having to go with those challenges as well. Not just the challenges of running a restaurant, but also the challenges of having to farm and being a farmer these days. Well, the topic of sustainability is so broad, and there's so many things that we could be doing. There's large things that we could be doing, there's small things that we could be doing. And we should, as chefs and as restaurant professionals, we should be looking at it across all different aspects, from our usage of plastic to our usage of water, the way that we're treating our waste and our waste streams, and the way that we're capturing vegetables and composting, all these different things. But really, too, the big thing ultimately is about our sourcing, is like, what food systems are we supporting in the way that we source? What is the seafood that we're using? What are the meats that we're using? What are the vegetables that we're using, and where are those coming from? So supporting good food systems, because we vote with our dollars. We vote. Every time we make a purchase, we're making a vote by that. We're saying, I am supporting this system over that system. And the better systems that we can support, and the more that we can financially incentivize, whether it's seafood and fisheries, whether it's ranchers or dairies or farmers, and the more that we can support for them to be motivated to follow good food systems, the better overall change that we can make. My advice for techniques for young chefs, up-and-coming chefs, and even for experienced chefs working with vegetables, is the same really with working with anything. It's all about repetition. It's all about planning. It's really about thinking about getting the most out of things. And if you're doing certain cuts and really looking at what your trim is and what your waste is, and using that not just as a way for cost savings, which is of course important, but also just in waste in general. We really have to be focused composting, on our waste and our waste streams, and utilizing those things. And if we are creating waste, looking at waste, we can get that back into the system in vegetables through a composting system that's viable. So really with vegetables, it's just really important in terms of servicing diners and getting our dining community and our guests more excited about plant-based things is applying a lot of technique. Cooking a steak or cooking a piece of fish, while taking practice and you have to do a lot of repetition, is relatively simple and straightforward. Coaxing the flavor out of vegetables and creating dishes that have a lot of appeal and really excitement with vegetables, it takes more technique. And so I think for me that vegetable cookery is much more exciting than working with animal proteins, in that there is so much opportunity for flavor development, for textures, and to create new and innovative ideas I guess I've never seen before. So it's really about thinking creatively. There's so much opportunity that vegetables give us, not only with the vegetables themselves, but within those vegetables, the different varieties that we can look at, and bringing different flavors and comparing and contrasting and showing things. Farmers are doing so many amazing things, whether that's going back and looking at heirloom varieties or breeding things for specific flavors. And there's so much excitement out of there that that's really where the innovation is ultimately going to be. So the dish that we're making today is a very, very simple dish. It's a very, very classic dish, and it's kind of fun to do it because it's not overly chefy or fussy, but it really does have what I think is a really warm heart of not only something that's delicious, but that has a lot of hospitality with it, and is really made from one person to give to another. So we're making a classic dish that comes from Japanese cooking called onigiri. This is a very, very common dish you see all over. You see it in kids' lunches made by their parents. You see it in people's lunch bag to work. You can find it in restaurants, but you can also find it in little convenience stores and little shops that make onigiri. So it's very, very typical to see in Japan, and you have all these different flavors. But our take on it really is just to bring in the seasonal vegetables. So we're always trying to connect our guests with today, what's happening in this moment on our farm. And we serve these onigiri in our inn rooms. So in one of our 5 rooms, when guests arrive and they go to check in, they'll find one of these sitting in the room waiting for them. Because for us, we're thinking about how they feel. We're always trying to put ourselves in the place of the guest and think about how do they feel at this moment, and what can we do that's really aligned with how they feel. So they've probably driven several hours to get here. They are dining with us that night, so they probably didn't have a very big lunch. They're probably coming in a little bit hungry. It's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and their dinner reservation is at 7. So they probably just need that little something to tide them over, but not a big meal. So we make this onigiri is kind of a way to say, we know you're hungry, but you don't want to eat too much. You just need a little something. So here's something from us to you, made by hand, that also has vegetables from our farm that are in season right now, and begin to tell you that story about today and what we harvested today. So our farm is a 24-acre farm. It's on the Dry Creek Valley, so really in the heart of Sonoma wine country. We're completely surrounded by vineyards on all sides. So we very importantly, too, to our region, bring biodiversity to the region. So, we think of monocropping as being something that's a corn, soy, and wheat. But up here in wine country, too, we can have a lot of grapes, which can be really intense. So it's really important that we mix within our vineyards. We have these small organic farms that creates biodefense and works in partnership with them in terms of the biodiversity. So the farm is run by my wife, Katina. She runs it all with regenerative agriculture practices, or we're what's called a no-till farm, which means we don't have any heavy machinery on there. Everything is done by hand. We do it in smaller beds. We work in what we call small successions. So we do small independent plantings over increments of time, so that ultimately when we're harvesting, we have small harvests that we can have that can sustain us over a longer period of time. So all of our practices are all really in accordance with nature and never against it, working with the seasons, and really focusing all of our energy and attention into good soil health. So the energy is put into creating very, very healthy soil. Healthy soil creates healthy plants, and what we're trying to do there is she's raising very nutrient-dense vegetables. So nutrient-dense vegetables go hand in hand with flavor. So the more that we can focus on the soil health is better for the environment. And the healthier our soil is, the more delicious and more nutritious ultimately that our vegetables will be. And this process takes time, and it takes a lot of love and attention. I'm very lucky as a chef to be able to work directly with my wife as a farmer, and really what is happening on the farm and what she's doing on the farm, that ultimately drives what we do creatively here. So we don't say within the kitchen, what do we want to cook tomorrow? Okay, let's order the ingredients. It's really the farm saying, here's what we have, here's what is good, here's what it's at its peak, here's what we're harvesting, and then we're told that, and then we decide creatively how we can showcase that, because it's our role as chefs to really showcase the hard work of the farmer, because they're working for months and months to grow this vegetable that we only have for a few hours. So that harvest comes in at 11 a.m. and it's served that night. So really we want to be showing that hard work of the farmer to our guests, and tell the story of what they do and taste all the amazing flavor that they've created. Our menu is always changing to be very present in that moment, and we want guests to feel very present in that moment as well.